We take electricity for granted. We flip the switch and expect power. The fact that in Saint Lucia we can take electricity for granted is due to the efforts of Saint Lucia Electricity Services Limited, or LUCELEC, over the years. But that sort of reliability doesn't just happen. It's a complicated process. Planning and infrastructure decisions are measured in decades for several systems that all have to work together seamlessly. Add to that rapid changes in technology and customers expecting service improvements all the time, and you begin to understand the nature of the challenge. And more recently, regulatory adjustments and the push towards renewable energy added new complexities to the energy equation. LUCELEC, long ago, anticipated many of these challenges. In the early 2000s, the company began to explore in earnest alternative energy solutions to include solar, wind, and geothermal energy into its generation mix.
So there was a plan, 20-year plan, that essentially gave you a roadmap with more emphasis on penetration of renewables into the generation mix of the country. We looked at it as a connected energy space, and within that connected energy space, the planning that we did before was not appropriate. So we started looking at what utilities normally term as an integrated resource plan, which took in all different forms of generation that you could particularly have on the system, what sort of upgrades you're going to do to the system over a period of time, and how the general public would interact with that plan.
That new approach became more urgent. Just as LUCELEC began working on its integrated resource plan in 2015, the government of Saint Lucia was seeking to reduce the country's dependence on fossil fuels and manage energy costs.
So we figured the best thing to do would be to move towards a sustainable energy program, one that really did two things. First of all, determine how much of our own renewable energy resources we could use, and here I'm talking specifically of wind, of solar, and of geothermal, and also what sort of energy efficiency measures we could put in place to reduce on the demand for electricity and to cause people to not have to, for the same output, for the same effect, not have to consume as much units of energy as they were consuming.
In what has now become an historical and unique approach, LUCELEC and the Government of Saint Lucia teamed up with a group of experts to work out how best to incorporate renewable energy into the grid and provide long-term solutions for the energy sector in Saint Lucia.
Several years ago, really, LUCELEC and the Government of Saint Lucia had a number of tough questions around the energy sector, and it's certainly a complex sector. Questions included, what are the right mix of resources to add here in Saint Lucia that will keep reliability high and costs low? What are the best ways to procure those? Should it be done single source or with many competing bidders? Should LUCELEC be a partner in generation, or should it be independent producers? All these tough questions required both a lot of time, all the parties in the same room talking about them, as well as some independent expertise that our organizations, Rocky Mountain Institute, Clinton Climate Initiative, and Carbon Forum, were able to provide over the past couple of years.
Out of that collaborative effort, a national energy transition strategy was developed. The Government of Saint Lucia has adopted that strategy to guide developments into the energy sector over the next several years. In the next episode of Connected, we'll discuss the main elements of the National Energy Transition Strategy.